So now we're going to move on to the step 2 of my 4-step roadmap. The first one being, number 1, figure out who you are, what you're all about, what's your life about, and how do you, what do you want to say about your life in your art? Because that's what you have that's unique to give to the world. So now you've got these ideas. Well, you got to somehow take all that information and move it onto a painting, a 2D surface. How do you do that? Well, we have a toolkit, and it's called the Design Elements and Principles. We have abstract composition. Now, the design elements are not hard to understand. I mean, line, shape, color, texture, value, size, direction, right? Those words are simple, but yet as an artist, you have to put that stuff together and make sense of it. Like, look at the painting behind Sue and look at the painting behind me. They couldn't be more different because we as individuals are so different from each other. So how we choose to take those tools, that is the translation between your life and your art. So now I want to talk to all of you guys. We spent, 5 months focusing on each of these design elements, because let's face it, if you have an alphabet of 26 letters, you spend like your entire lifetime, right? Like working with the alphabet, and first you write that first sentence, first words. Well, in this case, we only have 7. So we spent a good amount of time with each individual element so we could really understand our relationship to it. So do any of you want to talk about what happened, the way that you made the connection between your life and your art once you understood what the potential of each element and how they interact with each other?
I'll say something.
Okay.
I had gotten emotionally in a slump, and the imposter syndrome going on. And so, I didn't really realize the connection until that happened. And one of our group in Australia got on a Zoom with me and said, okay, Lisa, you love the process. Not only do you love my line and color, those are my 2 favorite elements, but I just couldn't seem to do anything. I couldn't seem to paint. She said, the process. Remember, you love the process. And so we talked about it. What do you do? How do you start your painting? And so it's like she had to walk me through it, but I was able to actually do 2 paintings that day and almost complete them and of course she spent time with me on Zoom, but doing the process with color and line got me out of that slump. And so that's when I really realized the connection.
Cool. That's a great story. Anybody else want to talk about these 7 design elements? What happened? Yeah, Amy.
So the design elements was a revelation for me. And I'm so grateful that we spent time on each one, because I think that was very necessary to experiment and explore each one for a certain amount of time before we could start putting them together. And it all does go together eventually, but that was a very important process for me, and it did indeed give me the tools to start painting non-representationally. And so I have gone back again and again to some of those lessons, and once I got through those, then I was able to start looking at the compositions that were forming, and then I was able to begin editing them. So it really was a toolbox. It still is. It always will be. And I'm really grateful for the lessons on those design elements. Thanks, Pam.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah. And I guess all of us feel that, we're all like, there's always more to learn, right? Like, that's why the course is lifetime access, because we feel that while the course may be the constant, every time we go through it again, what we bring to it is our new selves. And we hope for growth in a whole year's time. That's a lot of time, but in the scheme of things, in a lifetime, that's really kind of a drop in the bucket. So if we can grow in a year and then go through the course again, grow some more, and just it's a one-time thing, investment, I feel that that's the best way we learn, is to be able to repeat something. And that's how we are able to reinforce these things. Does anyone else just briefly want to talk about elements, or should we move on? We can certainly move on. Yes, Rob?
Okay. So one thing I've seen looking at other people in the group is this course is so comprehensive. This toolkit is all there in ASM, but you have to do the work. And what I've noticed again and again, the people in the course that work the most get the most out of it. Like lots of things in life, I suppose. But I guess that's my first point, that it does take dedication and work, like lots of things. And I also like this analogy you sometimes use about like comparing painting to piano playing. Before you can be sort of this virtuoso pianist, you have to really sit down and do your scales and arpeggios. And I think that's what a lot of the exercises in the course are about. So it's kind of studies. And the more you do, the more you see these correlations. And it's like when you get to a certain stage and that momentum kicks in, you kind of have the control, just like in the piano playing, if you're really brilliant at scales after practicing, you have the control, but then suddenly at the same time, you have that freedom to break the rules and to play. And that's when all the magic starts happening. So it does take work, but it really pays off after a while.
Well, I'm really glad you pointed that out, because I hope you guys feel like going through ASM is some of the most like intense work you've ever done. I mean, for me, I go like, that is because it's my roadmap. Like I'm constantly doing this, but I always feel like I'm a beginner, because every time I approach a new class, go through it again, I'm like, well, but wait a minute. I look at this with different glasses on now, because I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. And so you elevate, and now it becomes harder. And then you elevate again, and it becomes harder, right? Do you guys feel that way?
Yes. I also feel, Pam, that one of the advantages of ASM is that it doesn't matter if you are just relatively new at art or are completely self-taught, or if you're somebody who has an MFA already. I do not have a background in art, at least not in the visual arts. So I really needed a lot of the design element work. And originally I did this in your other course, Personal Design, Personal Color. And it was wonderfully helpful to me. And by the time I got to ASM, I had done a lot of the work on, say, values, and had a whole new appreciation of what a difference changes in value make in a painting. And every time I added a value to the focal area and saw it pop, I got immediate reinforcement for doing that. And I really felt that in ASM, I could experiment more. I could take the exercises you provided, but I could also find my own. So I could play with composition in different ways. I could attack direction and texture in slightly different ways. So I loved the openness that the course offers, in addition to the order and the basic lessons in each of the design elements. I found it enormously helpful to be able to play. It helped me to play, to be able to experiment.
Yeah, I'd say, Cynthia, you're like a master of play. You make it look so easy. And for some people, it's easy. And for other people, it's like just a whole new concept,